Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will be discussing about completable futures in Java. So completable future is a class in Java which help us to deal with asynchronous task in a non-blocking fashion. So there are many IO heavy tasks like calling external service, database updates and reading writing from a file. These operations are expensive as compared to the computations which are performed by the program itself. So as an example, there is a thread of execution and you are performing some computations, you are logging something, you are computing something, and after that there comes a external service call in which you need some data from some API, external API. So if you need the response of that external service call, and if you are using the same thread, then you have to wait for that service response, and after the response is there, you have to do some computation or log something. So the issue here is like you need some mechanism in which you don't need to wait for the external service response and maybe come at a later point of time, or like provide some callback mechanism in which you can handle this situation. So here comes completable futures. So before directly jumping into the completable future and how it works, I will give a brief about threads and thread pool. So thread is a execution flow of a program in which lines are executing one by one. So let's say in your Java program there are 10 lines. So a thread, if a thread is running, so first statement is running, second is running. So that is a thread in which your statements are executed line by line. And thread pool is a concept in which there are multiple threads, like you can create your custom thread also, thread pool also. So thread pool contains n number of threads, and can be from 1 to any number. So it manages the threads. So it has a queue of tasks, and it takes the task and schedule it on a thread. So let's say there is a program to calculate something, there is a program to multiply something, there is a problem to divide something. So if you have these tasks, these is a separate task, you can schedule on a different thread so that they can run in parallel or concurrent depending upon the number of cores on a machine, so that independent tasks can be done independently. So completable future uses thread pool as the underlying mechanism to execute anything. So it do these it do its work in 3 steps. So whenever you have a asynchronous task, you define in a callable or a runnable, and you provide it as a task to a thread pool. So thread pool has a task. So whenever it finds a available thread in a thread pool, it start executing that task. This is the first step. And in the second step, after you have scheduled a task, it returns you a object of completable future, and that object comprises of the value which will be fulfilled in the future. And then in the main thread that's not blocked, you can keep moving on and you can use that value in later point of time. Now when to use this value and in which thread to use that value of completable future, we will discuss in upcoming slides. So this is complete flow of how completable future works behind the scenes. So the left part of dotted lines we have already discussed, like how it schedules a task and then returns back the flow so that the thread is not blocked. So whenever the task is scheduled in a thread pool by completable future, it creates an object of completable future in a heap. So heap is a memory which is accessed by all the threads. So any thread can access the heap memory. So the task is scheduled and the value is saved, but the completable future object doesn't have the value yet. It will be fulfilled by later point of time after its execution is done. So whenever it finds a thread, it starts executing whatever we have given, whatever we have code point to given to execute. So after this is a separate thread. So the main thread is running itself, this is running. So this is a wait time, but actually it might not be a wait time if we have multiple threads and other threads are scheduled to CPU at that time. So after we get the response from external service, we use that response and backfill the completable future object. So now we have the data which we want. So let's say the completable future call was to get a random number through some API on the internet, and it just return the completable future object, and after the you get a response from a separate thread, its value is filled. So now the question is, you have the value, but it could be possible that your main thread has just finished, because this could have taken a long time and main thread could have finished in that way. So how to get the value? So let's say you get a random number of 35 from some external API. This completable feature now has value 35. So how you will print that? So we will discuss in the next slides. So what after value is filled in the completable feature. Now we have two options. I have mentioned the main thread, but the completable feature start can be from any thread. I have used the main thread as just a thread name from where the completable future tasks are being scheduled. And second option is like chain the response of completable future. We will go through the both the options and we will discuss which option is better. So the option 1. So as we have already discussed, like external service call has been scheduled, which a separate thread executed and it filled the response in the completable future object. So now you want to get the response from the completable future and print it. So let's say you made the external call and after that it's not blocked, it starts on the other works, and if all the works in that thread are done, the first option is to do a dot get or dot join method. So these are the blocking methods. What it do is like it just waits for the completable future to finish. So whenever it sees that this object has been filled with the required value, it just executes whatever you want. Whatever you want to do with that value, you can just do it. But the issue is like we don't get much advantage here, because if we are using just one thread, we have delayed this execution from some previous commands. Like it is similar to this slide, but the thing is completely computing something and log something is now upper as compared to this one. But we don't have much added advantage if we block the main thread, because the whole point of completable feature is not to block something. And pseudo implementation of this could be like, let's say a random library you have imported and it returns a random number which might be in the form of a string. You might need to convert it into integer. You then perform some operations and you just do a dot get at the end. But this is not at all recommended approach. So the next second option is the chain of responses, which is a recommended approach. So what you do is, I will give you an example. So you can see in your picture. So with an example we will understand this. So so in the example we are getting a random integer, and that's a completable feature in the form of an integer. Okay. Now your task is you need to multiply the value of completable future into 2, and after that you want to print. So if we go by the first approach, after we get the value 35 after waiting so long, then we have to multiply by 2 and then we can print 70. But what if we don't want to block anything? So what we can do is like after we have called the external service, it has created a future for us. Okay, so the execution of this would be done in a separate threads from the thread pool. Now what we want is like, we want to say like you don't have the value, but when you will get the value, just multiply it by 2. So the first task was to get the value, and the second task was when you get the value, you multiply by 2. So this is called chaining. So you don't have the answer from the first call, but you say when you get the call, answer from the first call, apply this. So it creates another completable future, for which the future value is twice the future value first. So when the first is fulfilled, it will call the like chain callback to get the completable feature of second. So now when you get the second value, you say like I just want to print it. So I don't do anything. So it's a completable feature of void. So you will pass a printer or like system.out.println, so it will print the value. So from the Java point of view, dot then takes a callback or like a lambda expression or like any functional interface. Functional interface is just like a interface which just has one abstract method. So random number future is a future which will have, let's say, value 35 in the future. Dot then apply say when the random number future will be filled with the value 35, it will do 35 into 2, and random number future dot then apply will then return a completable future whose value would be 70, twice the value of what this number is. Dot then accept what it do is like dot then apply returns the value. So whenever we want to do a computation on top of the value of a completable future, we do dot then apply. But when we just want to perform some operation, we don't want the value of completable future, manipulated value, then we do dot accept. So dot accept do is like whenever the dot then returned completable future got the value, you just print that value. So it will return 35 first, and after 35 is multiplied by 270, then it prints 70. Okay, now we can take a look at this in action. So we will perform one completable future task, and by this many of your concept would be cleared. So the task is, this is a random number client, so I have taken a random API. So what it do is like it returns a random number, and I have passed query parameters to restrict it from 1 to 100. So we make a call to external service to get the random value, and this is what creating the completable future. So creating the completable future is not that popular mechanism. Most of the cases you will get APIs which will return completable future because you will be calling external service, or if you are creating external service then you need to create completable futures, or if you want to parallelize computation then. So for this we will assume that we are getting the completable future by this, and we need to perform some operations. So the operation is get to random numbers. Okay, so we are getting this as a first random number, and we can get as a second random number. Okay, so these random numbers are in the form of string with a new line character at the end, and we want to add them both. Okay, so there are two things. So we don't have the random number. So after we get number, after we get string, then we need to remove end line, and then we need to parse into integer because we need to add both numbers. Then we need to print the combine. Okay, so we can like write it like this. So whatever we have written, it's in the form of, we can convert that into completable future also. Okay, so I will do it for the first number. It's random number 1. We need to convert to remove some end line character, so we need the modified value, so we will use dot then apply. So dot then apply will get the random number as string with end line character, and what we want to do is like we want to remove that end line character first. So we will do dot replace, and in dot replace we want to replace new line character with empty or with nothing. Okay, so this future will return a string. So dot then apply will return a completable future which has random number as string, but its end line character is removed now. So now its end line character is removed. What we want to do is like we want to convert it into an integer. So now it would be a random number as string but without end line character. So now we have that. Now we want to parse it. So integer dot parseInt, then random number as string. So it says like instead of this we can use as a method reference. Okay, so here method reference is just like we are passing parseInt method here. Okay, so now the value would be a completable future of an integer. Okay, so we can write it here, completable future of integer, then I will say random number 1 equals to this. We can do similar thing for second one also. This is random number 2, random number 2. We could extract this into a separate method because that's repeated across both the statements, but let's not do it right now. Okay, then the next step is to combine both the results. So to combine to complete, now we have two completable future, like Rn1 and Rn2 would be having an integer value, but we don't know when it would be fulfilled, and we don't want to block this main thread. So what we can do is like we get dot combine method. So dot combine method, you can combine one future with the other, like you want to perform some combined operation when both completable futures are valid. Okay, so it will get two numbers. So this is a method, functional interface by function you can say, which takes two arguments. The first argument would be the value of Rn1 after it is fulfilled, and second would be the value of Rn2 when it is fulfilled. So dot then combine takes both completable future, and when both are fulfilled it will call this method. Okay, so now in this statement we have both the values. So firstly we can print like which thread it is, so that we get more understanding. So this will say the thread from, you can say then compose, combine. Okay, then we can print just n1 and n2 just to see, although we want to combine value. Okay, and here we can return n1 plus n2. So this also returns a completable future, and it will return combined response. Okay, we could have changed here also, but like let's see, just want to tell you like this completable future chaining would also return the other completable future. So this is a combined response. So what we can do is like we want to print that value now, so we can do dot then accept. Then accept is like take this value, like whenever this value is available just add this operation. So we want to just print. So okay, system dot out print line, so this will print the value, and we can print here to get to know like which is this thread in main function. This is thread dot current thread dot get name. Okay, this will fail. Oh sorry, means it won't print it. So there is one more catch. I have added this intentionally so that I can let you know of this concept. So you see these statements have made an external service call get their futures, and here we have chained them so that we can do manipulations, and again we have made the chain on their combined result so that we don't block the main thread. So we have not blocked the main thread. Again here we have done one chaining, and at the last we have printed that system.out is like thread in main function. It printed like thread in main function is main. So this is the name of the main function thread. So why this happens is like everything worked fine, but we don't see these responses. So this has to do with the type of threads. So I want to go back one slide to tell you why this happened. So what happened is like we scheduled, just a minute. So what happened is we have scheduled many tasks asynchronously to a thread pools. So there are two type of threads. One is the daemon thread and one is the non-daemon thread. So by default the main thread is a non-daemon thread, and this is the thread pool which completable future uses is a fork join pool, which is a common pool of daemon threads. So daemon threads basically means like if the main thread exits, the program exit, it doesn't wait for any other thread to finish. So as these tasks are still going on but the main thread has exit, so there is no other non-daemon thread to make the program awake, then it exits. So we need so the workaround for this is like we can use the non-daemon thread pool. That's the one thing. And for this program I can just halt the main thread so that I can tell you what I mean. So now I am not quitting the program. After printing the thread name, I am sleeping the main thread for the 5 seconds so that our Java program doesn't end and other threads can work independently. So if I do so, now we will see after we got the response from the external threads, we see the thread is fork join pool, and then n2 is 39. I think n1 we have printed here only. N1 is 91, this is 39, so that combined to 130.